The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Welcome back to Darkside of the Pooch. He is Dr. Ab Stewart. Ross British Animal Hospital does fantastic work. 208-0301, 208-0301. Hey, if people are wanting to, because you how many kennels do you have to watch animals? How many dogs can you take? How many doggies and kitties can you?
About 40. About 40.
Okay, because you could have like 140 and probably not have enough. You know that, don't you? Because everyone wants to stay at your place. You're like the Hyatt Regency of veterinarian places. Everyone wants to stay at the Hyatt because you put like really nice mints on your dog's pillows.
It just I think having a veterinarian there is the main draw. There's boarding places you can house your pets, but a lot of them are just boarding facilities and they don't have a veterinarian there if something needs to have medication. Or, heaven forbid, something happens, like they get diarrhea or they get a urinary tract infection or they get sick while you're away.
Yeah.
I mean, during like heavy boarding times during holidays and stuff, we get pets from these boarding facilities where the dog or cat is there and they just get sick while they're there. And let's be honest, like sometimes boarding is to blame for that. You can have the cleanest, the nicest, the most well manicured and taken care of place in the world, but animals don't like to be boarded sometimes. It stresses them out. They get GI problems. So it's nice to have a veterinarian on staff that can take care of those issues if and when they happen.
Just want to be boarded right here.
Hello, Gizmo. Is that thing saying Gizmo? It's not Gizmo. What'd you name that thing?
That's Gizmo.
Yeah, I got it.
The tail. You can see it's a boy.
That looks like that could be Davy Crockett hat at any moment.
It could be. Thank you, dear. Hey, no, in all seriousness, so you do see that, and this is not obviously to pump your business, but actually it is because dogs don't get sick when they get to your place. They go.
No, they full transparency. They do. I mean, they do. Yeah. Every place I've looked. Okay, so when you board an animal, especially a dog, there is some level of stress that goes along with that. Mm-hmm. If they're a calm dog and they get boarded frequently or they come to our daycare a bunch, it's home away from home.
Yeah.
For these dogs that board twice a year, they're stressed when they come in.
Yeah.
And we do everything we can to give them a lot of TLC while they're there with our kennel staff. But I mean, nevertheless, sometimes a dog's going to get stressed. And when dogs get stressed, they get GI problems. And so it happens at every place that I've ever worked. And it happens at every boarding facility that's ever been in existence, no matter how good or bad they are.
I've always wondered this. I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue. Go ahead.
No, so I was just going to say, when that happens, you'd rather it be at a veterinarian practice, rather than just one of these boarding facilities, because sometimes the boarding facilities will just overlook it, push, sweep it under the rug and cross their fingers that, it'll resolve itself.
So you have this thing where you can pick a half or a full day to play. And whenever my dog's there for, I think the last time he was there was like 8 days. And so every other day I had like a half day or full day, and which I think is great, but it's obviously it's expensive. I mean, if you want your dog to go play, it's going to cost you another $25-$35 or whatever. And I get that. So if you don't buy those play times, how often are the dogs outside their kennels? Because a lot of people are like, you just keep them, obviously keep them locked up because they have to go potty and they have to go pee and stuff, but you still let them out, right? You still let them play and stuff like that?
They go out 3 times a day. And okay. I would not say that it's playtime. There's a difference between, like, playtime is like going to the gym. It's like us going to the gym or going to the park. And if you don't have playtime, going out is literally like getting up off the couch and going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
We give them ample time to go to the bathroom, and once they're done, we take them back inside.
Yeah. So what is the worst case scenario you've ever had where someone dropped their pet off to be boarded and then it just got really sick at your place and you were like, I mean, and how did you get in touch with them to let them know, hey, listen, we got a major issue here. Your dog's really, really sick.
It has, in the 7.5 years we have been opened, I'm I'm struggling to find a time where we had something unexpected happen,
Okay.
where a pet got really sick. Now, we did have a dog. This has probably been 4 or 5 years ago. The dog had a known heart condition,
Mm-hmm.
and the owners wanted it to still have a good quality of life, so they brought it to play at daycare and stuff. And while it was out there, it had a heart attack and died.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, the dog had a heart problem, and it caught up with it, and it died. Which, I can live with that. The owners knew that the dog had a problem, and a pretty serious problem, but they weren't going to let that limit the fun that their dog would have.
Yeah.
Now there are other times, and this can happen. What I'm about to talk about can happen anywhere. It can happen at your home, a boarding facility, a veterinary practice. But at a practice that I used to work at, we came in one Saturday morning, and found that it was a lab, and the lab was dead. And what happened was it got gastrodilation and volvulus, commonly known as bloat.
Bloat.
And yeah, bloat, gastrodilation and volvulus. We've talked about it on the show before.
Yeah.
And if that happens and you don't catch it pretty quickly, within an hour or two, they'll die from it. And so that's another benefit from being at a veterinary practice while your pet's boarding. Now, if it happens in the middle of the night, there's nothing anybody's going to do. Just like
Yeah.
at the place I used to work, we came in, dog's dead. But if it happens during business hours, we're going to know what it is immediately
Yeah.
and be able to start addressing it.
No, I mean, having someone. I mean, if you're gonna have, unless you want your dog to stay at the house and you're having someone, you're paying them $200 or $300 a week to stay at your house, which I guess you could do, but I don't want someone living in my house for a week. You'd be the best place to drop it off, Rossbridge Animal Hospital, because you're a vet and you know exactly what's going on. Your pet's going to be taken care of. 208-0301, rossbridgevet.com. Check them out on their website. Of course, they're all over Facebook as well. And Dr. Reb actually replies to every Facebook and X. Don't you? Someone writes something on X, you reply to everything, don't you?
X. We don't get anything on X.
Yeah. We do have one question. Speaking of heart conditions, this is interesting. Cherry from Hueytown wants to know, can dogs have pacemakers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, how many times have you done that? How do you know when they need a pacemaker? How long does that last? What's the situation?
I have done it 0 times. I've never installed a pacemaker, and I can promise you I never will. That's kind of like that would be like your general physician putting one in you. And yeah, while we do more than general physicians in the human world, stuff like that is not something a general practitioner like me would do.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, doing intrathoracic surgery and putting in a pacemaker, I mean, I don't personally know anyone that's ever done that.
But they can have a pacemaker.
Yeah, there are indications, but you would have to send them to a teaching. You would have to send them to a teaching hospital. You would have to send them to Auburn, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Tuskegee. There's no one is going to touch that.
Okay.
Unless they are a board certified cardiologist.
Okay. I was not aware of that. Tim in Birmingham wants to know, info@TonyCurryRadio.net, by the way, and I got a couple more questions, but we're going to knock out some emails. He wants to know, he's got a dog with 3 legs. Get all kinds of emails on the show. Dog with 3 legs, and wants to know if he'd be better off having the 4th one amputated and putting wheels on the dog, or allowing it to run on 3 because it seems like it's having a hard time getting around. I don't know why you'd want to take a perfectly good dog leg off and then put it on wheels, but I have seen these dogs with wheels, and it seems to work really, really well. And I guess the next question I'll ask him for him, where would you go to get some prosthetic wheel apparatus for your dog?
Well, there's a couple of like pieces to the puzzle that I'm not really, I'm unclear on. The only time I've ever seen a dog on wheels is if the hind limbs don't work. I've never seen a dog on wheels for front limbs. I'm going to assume that this dog has had a rear limb removed, which may be incorrect. Dogs do really, really well if they have one rear limb removed, because dogs carry a greater than 50% of their body weight on their front legs.
Yeah.
It's much harder on them if they have a front limb removed. I definitely would not remove another limb unless you had to. If the dog is having trouble moving around, the first thing that I would want to look at is the remaining leg, either the front or the back, is it diseased? Does it have arthritis? Is the pet overweight? Because that could play a huge role. So, long story short, I would not remove the other limb and put it on wheels, because the dog is not going to be able. Like you can have a dog on wheels when you're monitoring them. Like if you want to take them for a walk outside or whatever, but a dog can't live like a wheelbarrow. It's just not practical. They can't lay down. They can't sleep. So no, don't take the other leg off.
You never seen a dog with 4 wheels?
I've never seen a 4-wheel drive dog.
That would be pretty awesome, though. But you just brought up a great point. I didn't even think about how would you sleep. I mean, you'd have to take the wheels off. I mean, if you had wheels, you'd have to take the wheels off at night so it could sleep. But I have seen dogs on wheels, and they seem to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yes, because they don't have to move much. They don't have to run or anything. They don't pant or anything. They just roll around is what they do.
Still using the front legs.
Yeah. Dr. Rab Stewart, Rossbridge Animal Hospital. This show brought to you by Ed's Pet World. They're still getting after down there. 50 years down there in beautiful Homewood. You just saw my chinchilla a few minutes ago. I got chinchilla from Ed's Pet World. They do all kinds of exotic pets. They have snakes. They have tarantulas, spiders, rats for the snakes, all kinds of great birds. They have wonderful fish down there. Check out Ed's Pet World. In business for 50 years. Angie and Seth, the entire crew down there, would love to see you at Ed's Pet World for all your exotic pet needs. And of course, their other store, it's actual toy store. It's called Sasquatch Toys and Comics. They've got comics from the 60s, 70s, 80s. We talked about baseball cards in the show numerous times. They do wonderful stuff. Stuff still in the box, all kinds of Star Trek stuff and things like that. So check it out. It is really, really good stuff. Speaking of snakes, I saw the story. It's from 2 hours ago, from the Independent. They're eating the deer. They're eating the cats. They're eating 12 dogs a day. Large snakes invade Florida, eating the pets. We knew that these Burmese pythons were a problem, and actually they have. I think it's called the Burmese rodeo every year now, where they sell licenses, and you go out and whoever can kill the most Burmese snakes, and you get 2 points for females, you get a 1 point for males. But the more snakes you can kill, you get like a $10,000 prize or something like that. And people think that's disgusting, but these snakes are killing the ecology of the swamplands and everything else because someone let one go 12, 15 years ago. And now, of course, they have like hundreds of thousands of little baby snakes all over the place. Could you imagine a situation where you'd have to worry about losing your dog? They're saying that a 115-pound Burmese can take down a full deer.
Yeah, I've seen pictures where.
Have you ever seen a snake and an alligator get after it? That's pretty cool.
I don't know that I've ever seen that, but I've seen some pretty large mammals be eaten by these pythons that you're talking about.
There is pull up Burmese python and alligator fight, and you will not believe who wins that one. It's pretty good because once you get an alligator, I mean, you can talk about the teeth and stuff like that, but man, when you get one surrounded and you start squeezing it to death, it don't matter how much. It's pretty nasty. It's pretty fun to watch. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Stacy in Northport wants to know. She said her dog keeps licking its paws. She said she's licking all 4 paws to the point where they're sopping wet, but they don't seem to be having any issues with yeast or anything else. What's wrong with my dog?
I mean, I would probably disagree that there's an issue, not with yeast, because if the dog licks its feet long enough, it's going to have yeast on its feet.
Okay.
Which is going to make it even itchier. So, the itchiness comes from an allergy to something, either something that the dog is eating or something that is coming in contact with the dog's skin. Okay. That's the primary reason for the dog to be itchy. And so it licks its paws a lot, and the yeast is going to follow because yeast like to grow on the feet when the feet are wet.
Okay. Tom in Cleveland said, I hear you guys talking about flea seasons every season, but I swear I only get fleas in the wintertime. What's up?
Well, because he probably lives in the wintertime.
Yeah. That's the only time he gets fleas. I would think that winter. I think we'd get into the springtime, but he says in the wintertime. Do fleas come inside during the wintertime to get warm?
Do we? We have a Cleveland, Alabama. Do we have a Cleveland,
No,
Alabama?
no, it's Cleveland, Ohio.
So I wonder if the fleas come inside to get warm, and then they stay inside through the season. I would think that if he's getting fleas in the winter in his house, he would also be getting fleas in the summer, though.
What do
too.
fleas do outside in the wintertime? Do they die off or they go
They
underground?
die. Yeah, a winter in Cleveland, Ohio, is going to kill the fleas
Yeah,
if they stay outside.
yeah. I would think so.
I would something doesn't add up. I mean, I could see where if his question was, I live in Cleveland, it gets really cold here. Why do I still have fleas in the winter when I also have them in the summer? But the fact that he doesn't see them in the summer, only sees them in the winter, is kind of strange. Unless he himself or another pet has gone somewhere as the seasons are turning and brought the fleas in, not from his immediate surroundings, but somewhere else. Yep. Brought the fleas into the house, then the fleas get on the dog, and then they can live in the house through the cold months easily.
Yeah. And
so that's probably the situation. Probably came in from somewhere else, not near the house, and they live in the house during the winter.
Yeah, and I'm gonna second this question because I know we'll get one about it. But is it possible to have fleas without having any family pets?
Yeah, because fleas also want to be on you.
Exactly, and like Dr. Josh Claypo, who starred the Deer Chronicles, dumbass got too close to the deer, and next thing you know, the fleas were jumping on him. But evidently, fleas really love deer. I was not aware of that. The deer have fleas. So there you have it. That's probably a major issue there.
I'm watching the python video, and it has conquered the alligator.
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah, it's the alligator is no more.
Yeah, it's a big alligator. I mean, we're not talking about. But you see some of these videos from the Congo, man, where there's like a boat, and all of a sudden you see something coming out of the water, and it is a Burmese python, and it's like this big. I mean, it's like, dude. I mean, it's done, right? And then that would not be a good snack. That'd be hard to swallow. That'd be hard to eat. But anything that wants to eat an alligator, I'm all about it, man. I have no problem.
I would think that the eggs would be very appealing, like alligator eggs, for snake. I would think that that'd be a nice breakfast.
Yeah, but not the actual alligator itself, right?
No. Hey, but maybe that's what happened. Maybe it was chomping on those eggs, and mom came home, and then the python had to say, "Okay, if you want to tangle, we'll go."
Could be. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. We'll take your email questions. Please feel free to let us know. We've got John in Birmingham says that he's got a skunk in his front yard. I'm reading through this. People send these emails and they're just like 3 or 4 pages. He's got a skunk in his front yard. Wants to know if he needs to get it taken care of, and can it kill its dog? They won't kill. They'll spray him, right? And if they spray him, how do you clean a dog? Tomato juice? What do you do? What do you do if you get skunked? If you get skunked by your dog?
Yeah, I've always heard tomato juice. That's what we always hear. I don't know if it works or not. To be
I think I saw that on Curious George. I think Curious George did that once. He gets skunked like 3 or 4 times in an episode, and he just used tomato juice. I think it's supposed to get rid of the stink.
Yeah, he's a curious little monkey.
Yeah. So that's what you should do. Is that tomato juice work? And I mean, does it? What happens when you get skunked? Does it burn your eyes, or what the hell happens? I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I used to smell skunks all the time when I lived in Ohio. I have not smelled a skunk since I've lived in Birmingham, and I've been down here for like 35 years. I can't tell you the last time I smelled a skunk.
I smell skunks when I go to fish shows.
You got a what?
I smell skunks when I go to fish shows, fish concerts.
Do you? Speaking of the devil, Tommy, also in Cleveland, Ohio, says, Dr. Rab, ask Dr. Rab, when will Fish get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and when they do, will you be here?
Some of their memorabilia is in the hall.
When was their first album? Has it been 25 years?
Their first album, they're as old as I am. I think their first album came out in the mid to early 80s.
Okay, so they're good to go. So they're
good to go.
They should get in.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they'll get in because they're still kind of a cult band. They've never been really mainstream.
Yeah.
They and I think it was 92 They played a New Year's show at Emmett, and no, it was in Boston. I think this New Year's show was in Boston, and they instead of flying in on a joint like the Grateful Dead did when they closed Winterland in the 70s, they flew in to the stage on a giant hot dog. So they made they you know, it was kind of a spoof on the Grateful Dead. It
Yeah.
was a New Year's show. They started in the back of the arena, and it just came to the stage. And so that hot dog is in the atrium of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's pretty
But
doggone cool.
Fish themselves are not in. And I guess if I had to make a wager, I'm going to say they will not get in. I don't think they will get in because they don't have popular albums. They've never really had popular albums, and they have basically zero national exposure. I mean, I think in the mid to late '90s, they got a little bit of exposure on Rolling Stone. I think they were on the cover of Rolling Stone, but lots of bands are on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Yeah, band that did get a lot of exposure, obviously. We just talked about them. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Grateful Dead. How did you feel when Phil Lesh passed away a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, that was a bummer. That was a bummer because Phil was a beloved member of the Dead. He was he was incredibly influential. He knew music inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
He was very cerebral with his stylings and writings. Revolutionized the bass, revolutionized the instrument. You can't really talk to many bassists that would refuse that Phil Lesh had an influence on them in one way or another. He was just a trailblazer and a super nice guy, as far as I know. Took a lot of musicians under his wing and kind of mentored them. He was a huge advocate for organ transplant.
Mm-hmm. Sure was.
He had a liver from someone named Cody for like 40 years, and I had seen Phil in a lot of different capacities over the years, and it never failed. After every show, in between the second set and the encore, he would come out. He would just give like a 2-minute kind of deal about his story, how he needed a liver transplant, and this guy named Cody passed away. His liver was good. They put it in Phil, and Phil lived another 40 years with this liver. And so he would just come out on the stage and plead with everyone, like, please be an organ donor because it saved my life and it could save someone you love. That's super cool. That was the blurb. So he was a great guy, and it's too bad. You just see your heroes and of these bands you love, they pass away, and it just kind of gives you a sense of your own mortality. And it's sad. He was still playing live, but he wasn't, recording new music. But it's just an end of an era. Yeah. Only got 3 living Dead members left, 2 drummers and Bob Weir. So it's going to be sad. It's sad when they go.
It is. He was 84 years of age. You bring up something very interesting, and then we'll find out what's going on at the shop. One of the reasons I started Tony Curry Radio was because of the Edward Van Halens and the David Crosbys, because I knew they were going to go. And we're certainly at an age now in our 40s and 50s that we are going to lose Seeger, Clapton, McCartney, Starr. I mean, I can go. There's a list of about 60 guys that are huge, that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that when they're gone, I don't even know. There was such a drop off for me musically, like in the mid to late 90s into the 2000s. Not only because I don't listen to that type of music because I was a little older, but I don't hear a hip hop song or a song from Soundgarden being played in 2050. But I do from Boston. I mean, I know we're gonna hear More Than a Feeling. I mean, you just don't. It just doesn't have the staying power like we've been talking about classic rock. We always talk about country music was going to die off well before classic rock. It's been around for 50 years, and it'll never die. It'll never die. But the people who made it will. And I think I brought this up. I don't know if I brought this up with you or maybe Mark Ingram, because he's a big classic rock guy with UAB. But when a rock and roll guy like Rod Stewart's no longer singing his music anymore, he's only doing the storyteller crap. When a guy who wrote a song no longer sings that song, it's a death. It's a death. Like if he never sings Maggie May again, he wrote that song to sing that song so we could hear that song, right? And I know you can hear it on an album. I know you can hear it on a CD, but he sings it. That's how it became. He sang it live in a studio to get it done. And when he no longer sings that song, to know that Elton John may never sing Goodbye Yellow Brick Road again, it kind of makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's music means so much to so many people, and we identify it with certain times of our lives. And it's really just, you have a certain song or a band, and it is the soundtrack to your life.
Yeah.
And so when if it's insert whatever artist there, when that artist dies, you get a sense that you're going to die too,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like, for me, that's where the sadness comes in. But, I guess this is a great time to mention, let's not be so gloom and doom. Like, we don't have to fear death, you and I,
Yeah.
lots of other people out there, we don't have to be afraid of it.
Let me ask you something. Heaven. When you get to heaven, do you think that you'll obviously know the people that have already passed away? Like I'll see my grandma and grandpa, my mom and dad, and I get that. But do you think I'll know the people that I didn't know during this life? Like when I get to heaven, can I just walk up to Rod Stewart and say, "Hey, brother, what's going on?" Or do you think we're still going to be separated by the fact that he's going to be celebrity in heaven? I'm just going to be Tony Curry. What do you think?
I don't think there will be any celebrity in heaven. I think there'll only be three celebrities.
Well, we'll know it's Rod Stewart, right? I mean, I'll go, dude. It's Robert Plant right there. I mean, it's
Yeah. Like, I'm in my mind, I'm gonna say that, yeah, we're gonna be able to know the people, but I think that I don't think that there's gonna be any. Well, I'm sure there's some biblical hierarchy, of course, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
The saints, the martyrs, people like that. But as far as like celebrity on earth translating to heavenly celebrity, like in a pop culture sense, I don't think that exists. That's just an opinion. That's not biblical. There's nothing in the Bible that says that.
That's interesting. Because I know we don't get sick. I know we're going to have the heavenly body, so our bodies are going to be fantastic. I know we're going to eat because Jesus says we eat. Yeah, that's going to be interesting when we get up there, to know that we can just know anybody, and that's going to be crazy.
And I think that maybe you can be like, oh, there's Robert Plant, but Robert Plant's no more important than you are.
Yeah, true. And I mean, I wonder if they do shows up there.
Oh, I hope they do.
There's got to be concerts in heaven, right? I mean, seriously,
man. God, dude, no, there is 100% concerts in heaven.
Yeah,
I have no doubt about that.
That's good. We should do a show on that. That'd be great. All right, anything going on at the shop? Anything special happening?
Oh, I'm off today. I have no idea.
Good.
Now my wheels are turning about who would be in my celestial all-star band.
Mm-hmm. Talk about Ringo Starr's all-star band, man. They'd have a, I mean, right inside the pearly gates, brother. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we need to. Someone's going to ask a question one week, and it's going to be, who's in your celestial all-star band?
That'd be pretty cool. We'll do that for next week. All right, tell people how they can find you, man.
Email us, rossbridgeanimalhospital@gmail.com. Call us 208-0301, or you can message us on the Facebook.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Fare thee well, Phil.
Oh, I love that. Dr. Ab's always brought to you by, of course, the fine folks right down there at Ed's Pet World. They're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday through the weekend. Check them out. 50 years in the business. They've got everything, exotic pets, you name it. They've got it down there. Everything from chinchillas, like I like it. They got tons of fish. They've got parakeets. They got the giant tortoise down there. All kinds of great animals down there. Check out Ed's Pet World. Of course, also Sasquatch toys and comics down there on Citation Lane. Everything from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Stuff is still unopened in the boxes. They got fantastic stuff. Check it out. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.